It's the end of the year. Did I read 115 books this year? No. No, I did not. I have an addiction to TikTok. I'm also a mom and I have 2 jobs. So no, I read about 50, but let's talk about my favorite ones from the entire year. Okay. January. A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. Okay, this is also the same author who wrote Divine Rivals, which I absolutely loved. Although in true form, I've heard that people didn't really like the second book as much, and I also did not like the second book in this series. But this gave me Highlander type vibes. It's very whimsical stories. However, her MMCs do tend to weep at some point in the stories, and that's just not something that I'm into. So, I did enjoy it. It was magical. I won't read it again. February. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker was fantastic. It does take a minute to get into. You have to be interested in the fantasy elements to really enjoy it. However, dragons, the romance was beautiful. It was very well done. The story is very unique. I'm all about reading stories that I haven't read before, as far as like, I can't read the same romantasy over and over again. I'm not interested in it. So this was not that for me. This was absolutely perfect in my opinion. 6 stars. March, I already gave my copy to my sister, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. That one and Two Twisted Crowns, both fantastic. They were amazing magical reads for me. I love the magic system. I love the dark, earthy vibes that it gave. I loved the romance is like, I would say the romance is like half and half. Like, it's not the main point of the story. The rest of it is just as important, but the characters are so well written that it's very hard not to just fly through those stories. April, we switched it up. I did an audiobook of this. This is Road of Bones by Demi Winter. I loved this. It also took a minute to get into. I'm glad I didn't give up on it. I will say, if I had sat down to try to read this, it might have taken me a lot longer to get into, but listening to it really helped. For lack of a better word, we'll call this like, it's giving like Norse mythology vibes. However, I don't know if that's correct. Anyway, again, another unique story that I haven't read before. The romance is in there, but again, you have to enjoy fantasy in order to read this because it is a bit more heavy on the fantasy side. Loved it. Very creative, very unique. I did read the second book, also fantastic. I can't wait for the next one. I don't know when it's going to be. And for May, how does it feel? How does it feel? I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what I loved about this book, but I was so into it. So into it. I finished it in like 2 days. I don't usually like insta love, but this was more of like a faded situation, and the twisting and the turning, absolutely devoured this. I couldn't get enough of it. It was the very unique story for me. That's my theme for this year. I needed unique new stories. I will say didn't love book 2, wasn't super into it, but this one was very interesting, and maybe you'll like book 2. I have no idea. And then we switched over to rom-com, and I read a bunch of books by Abby Jimenez. My favorite for June was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I just love it. I love there's doctors, and it was I'm a nurse, so it was really interesting to have that part of the story be in there, them working in the hospital. Not necessary, obviously, to be in the medical field, but it was super fun to have those little elements thrown in there. She has great mental health representation. It was just fabulous the way she handles anxiety. I really liked both the characters. It was very well done. And then in July, we went back to fantasy, and I've talked before about how much I love Spark of the Everflame, but I'm sorry, you have to hear about it again, okay? Loved it. I know people say that DM is whiny. I personally have read whinier heroines before, and I really like the slow burn of it. The magic is unique. Her character arc, I feel like, is necessary, and I thought it was very interesting, and we like Luther, okay? We like Luther. He's important to the story too, okay? I love him. So we stuck with fantasy, and we went with The Wolf King. I gotta say, I devoured this book. I read it on KU. I have no idea where the next book is, and I'm mad about it. I'm upset because I really want to know, and I can't wait to read the story again. I read this book in like 2 days. Wolf shifters, be a wolf shifter and capture the princess and take her to another kingdom where somebody may or may not be a king of something. I don't know. It was interesting. I loved it, and I can't wait for the next one. September. I finished out the trilogy from Belladonna. Belladonna was one of my favorite books. I also love Foxglove, and I finished Wisteria. I gotta tell you, this was about 2 other characters, but I did not care. I devoured the entire thing. I absolutely love Fate and Blythe. This was the perfect ending to the trilogy. If you want in my opinion, this was a perfect trilogy. Very well done. Worth every single second of reading it. October, I read Metal Slinger, and this is a book that I think about every single day. I don't know where book 2 is. I'm upset about it, but it was worth every single second. Jump on board of it. So maybe she could write the next book faster because I need to know what happens. It's necessary. It's very important. Meadow Slinger. Very unique premise. It was giving, for lack of a better word, Moana vibes, very like island princess. Can't wait for the next one. Hurry up, ma'am. And then in November, I got on a little thriller stint, and House Across the Lake was the best thriller that I have read thus far in my thriller journey. I gotta tell you, 6 stars. I thought I had it figured out 3 separate times, no clue where it was going, and I was so surprised. I loved every single moment in like 2 days. It was lovely. I gave it to my sister, so she needs to read it because I need someone to talk about it with. Okay? Okay. And then I know that we're almost halfway through December. However, I can already tell you that I'm basic girl. I'm a basic, bookish bee because this, I am eating this up. I got 200 pages left. All the tabbies are happening. I can't get enough of Kingfisher, and I don't even know how to say the female main character's name. I'm sorry. This is doing it, okay? It's doing it for me. This is fantastic. It's giving me the same feelings that I read when I read Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, all of that. I am just eating it up in the middle of it. I keep the texting between my friends and me is just, they're probably having a great time because I've been texting every little thing that I think about this book. So yeah, I don't really picture myself reading another better book the rest of this month. So we're going to call this my favorite for December. So here's to more happy reading in January. Maybe I will, if TikTok goes away, I'll be getting over my TikTok addiction and read a few more books as time goes on. But for now, this was a pretty great reading year. So I hope you all have a lovely rest of your year, and I can't wait to read more with you in 2025.